Many of you here in the room, I'm sure, once or twice a day, are always asking for a coffee or get asked for one. And for me, I was getting a little bit tired of it. I like to have coffee in the morning alone at 7:30. Why have coffee in the afternoon if you can have a Heineken 0.0? But what I started thinking was like, these are super busy people, including everyone in the room here, and I want to make the most out of your time. And so I started the show with my team, and among all the other podcasts that we do, including Have a Sip, which, by the way, the mug is right there and also outside. And also the host of Have a Sip is right there. Gets like 1 million downloads per episode. Mine doesn't. That's how the whole show started, just building those connections over casual coffee chats, which evolved into today's podcast. So that's what I encourage in today's community as well, guys. Today is not a super stuck-up formal suit and tie kind of conference. Today is meant to generate those conversations and get real things done and bring value to each other. Which leads me to my next guest of today's summit. We have Khoi, the country director of Meta. Welcome to the stage, Khoi. Take a seat. Khoi, I first met you on Zoom or whatever it was 2+ years ago. You weren't even country director then, were you?
Yes, that's correct.
You were doing something else within Meta, or it wasn't even called Meta back then, it was called Facebook. Yeah. How long have you been at the whole organization now?
Okay, so maybe let me get a start first. So first thing first, good morning everyone. It was such a pleasure to be here with all of you. And I thanks again, Hao, for being like a partner throughout the journey and also the opportunity to be here. So maybe let's get started a little bit about me quickly. So I'm Khoi, born and raised in Ho Chi Minh City. Been with Meta for 6 years now. So I can tell like maybe I'm one of the very first Vietnamese work for Meta, and we're all based in Singapore. Back at the time where I'm going through so many things within Facebook, Meta in so multiple roles, and currently I'm a country director for Meta in Vietnam. And a lot of time people asking me what exactly I'm doing at Meta. So I'm trying to take the chance quickly let you know maybe very quickly about two parts of it. One part is we call it like Meta for Vietnam, which is like my team and myself try every best possible way to bring all of the best of Meta platform globally, regionally to Vietnam and make sure our community users, businesses, and partners can leverage and success. Another part of it, I always call it Vietnam for Meta, which is like my team and myself also try to make sure that Vietnam is best positioned in the global stage, where we can actually leverage to invest more in Vietnam, or to make sure that Vietnam users, communities have the best possible solution or like functionalities to roll, to develop communities, and to do a lot of meaningful things. So that is exactly our day in, day out type of job.
And guys, I just want to share a little bit about our relationship with Meta and the experience we've had and why Khoi is on stage today. It's been such a pleasure working with everyone in this room, actually, but also with Meta. They're incredibly open. They know how important Vietnam is, and that's why they're here today, too. Small but nimble team, but one of the fastest growing in all of the world, actually. So thank you for making time here today.
Thank you.
And sharing. Guys, we're going to get straight into today's topic, which is the top 5 digital consumer trends shaping business in 2023. Quick fire kind of answers to cover those 5. Let's look at that report. In 2023, guys, if we can get that on stage here, what are some of those reports that, or sorry, some of the key takeaways in that report, and where does Vietnam stand based on your guys' analysis?
while we're waiting for the slide, I'll just share a little bit of the context of why we did that. So I kind of like every year we try to see across all of the platform we are doing, the internal data, all of the partner we work with, on a lot of research we're doing with like the leading company in the region or globally. When we try to identify a few things that can help, the businesses to think about what they are doing right now and how else they can think for the future, not so far, maybe next year, how they can just pivot a bit or like optimize a little bit better. So that is the idea about it. And we try to focus a lot about Vietnamese consumer. And the way I look at that is I'm just trying to identify, let's say, 5 things. But among those 5 things, we will try to find the 2 things that already very significant in the country already. And we want to make sure that we can share more of how they can become more important or more significant in the year. And for the next 2 trends, we also want to share something already there, but we expect it to play a much bigger role in the near future. And then lastly, something quite, a little bit middle, longer term. So in terms of that, I will go straight to it. So the first bucket is around something very significant already. And I think each and every one of us can easily relate it to. First thing is Vietnamese consumer is very digital, discovery-led. What I mean by discovery-led is if you think about 6 out of 10 Vietnamese consumer that we survey together with banks and company, they're telling us that whenever they get it online to buy something, they just don't know what they want to buy. And they're very open to be, in the discover mode. They want to see new things, they want to enjoy it. And I think it's going back to, as a Vietnamese, we all know that we like new things, we're open to changes, we embrace that. And it's actually makes the shopping experience much more, fun. In a way, you can see a lot of cool things that you never think of. So that is a very significant thing. We have been seeing it in Vietnam for a number of years, not now. But the interesting part of this year, because we think about after COVID, people actually shopping online a lot. And maybe later on, after COVID, they can have a little better sense of what they're going to looking for. But the reality is it stays the same. So people still really like the discovery across all of the category from essential to non-essential. So this is something very significant.
So you mentioned 60% of people, they're just on Facebook, on Reels, Instagram, and they don't even know what they're going to buy. And they don't even know that they're going to buy something.
Actually beyond the platform that we are seeing, because the research was done by banks and company, they just go out to all of the Vietnamese consumer and they're asking things, not really tied to just our platform. So I think that is something quite significant. And actually linked to the next one is also very significant. If you have Vietnamese staying here a little bit long enough, you will start to see that a lot, and it's quite amazing. That people buy and start to find product, talk to the business on a one-on-one basis. If you go in from the Western world, you go straight to certain things like Amazon and buy stuff. And here people start to messing the page to see you have this, you have that availability or not. And that is something very significant in Vietnam for the past few years. And now it's actually expanding globally. And I can be very proud to share that Vietnam is one of the top market globally to ride that trend forward. And we call it business messaging because it's actually a lot more than that. Because you can sell stuff, you can buy stuff, you can inquiry about things, but at the end of the day, it's just the connection, that one-on-one that you have with your customer. Because a lot of things out there are changing on a daily basis, but the need of knowing your customer on the one-on-one level is not going to change now or never or the future. I think that is very significant.
I want to talk about creators a little bit. Influencer marketing creators. I'm sure our audience here are well aware of how important influencer marketing, creator marketing is. And it looks like Meta is doubling down on that quite a bit. You guys just had a creator week where you celebrated creators all over the world, but in Vietnam there are a number of them. that participated in that. Maybe you can break down like what are you guys seeing in the creator space, and why are you investing so much into that, and how could brands like the ones here benefit from increased effort into engaging with creators?
So maybe before I get to that, is also get into the next two trends I'm seeing. It's actually including creator. But I think the sequence is going to be like this, because we are actually starting a lot more people using video. Video is not something new. It has been here for years, but people are starting to use video as the first thing for them to discover things and evaluate or like product services that they think about. And especially, it's not just long video anymore, it's a short video, and people call it social video or something about that. You think like, it's just same, but on for the phone, the same thing. And I think because of the rising of short form video, the role of creator is become much more important. Because in the past, if you think about creating a video, you need to be a pro to do that. But now, like, you don't have, everyone can be a video creator. It's just really about yourself and your characteristics and all of this. And it's make like the need of creator to become more important in this world. Their voice, their perspective is really appreciated by their fan. In the past, you think about influencers or like maybe like celebrities or KOL, but right now it's about everyone. You can be a content creators, as small as you can, but you have a really good and loyal fan base. That's good enough because they love your authenticity. They know that you respect them, and then you share something that honestly. So I think that is something that makes us think a lot more about how we think about we support that community on our platform, which we create. Like already, like all of the creator, the big or small, they're already on our platform like for years already. But we actually realize that now they even can do a lot more, and we can also do a lot more to help. So one thing we are trying to do is we try to make sure that we build tools that good enough for them to create more content on our platform, and then give them a lot of training and monetization opportunities so can make a good living. So they can maintain their authenticity. They can contribute better to their communities.
I was about to touch upon the point of monetization. You mean kind of automated monetization or working with brands? Could you explain that a little bit?
So two parts of that. First one, of course, when you put good content on our platform, there are always monetization opportunities where we call it like revenue sharing. It's always there. But I think more importantly is we also try to make sure that we work together with that creator to help them to think something more sustainable in the way they develop their community, grow their fan base, have a little bit more skill sets in terms of how they can help certain businesses to talk to the consumer. So I think like in the past, so many creators, they can very good at they're talking their story. But if they want to partner with a brand, they have to be better at talking the brand story, but not losing their authenticity. So those type of things, we are working very closely with them. So all of the Creator Week that you mentioned earlier, or in Vietnam when we launched a program called the Creator of Tomorrow, it's actually something along the line. It's like we try to help them to think a bit bigger, more sustainable. And also at the same time, we are bringing them opportunities to work with brands. Like I can tell one example. Recently, we are working with Milo Vietnam, where they have a very good idea, and they think like, why not bring people together? It's actually our mission is to bring people together. So we bring all of the team together, including creators. So we're building a lot of content from the lens of creator. And you see, it's not just like a simple TVC, but it's a lot of things from creator, something very authentic. And the results were amazing. I think like people love that. They love that refresh view, and they think something really new for Milo. And I think that was something that we want to do more in the future about like bring people together. It's actually always our core mission.
Yeah, touching upon the points here made by Khoi. Even at Vietcetera, we're starting to invest a lot into short form video. Like today's podcast, it's a business show. We get tens of thousands of downloads across the video and podcast, but we are seeing, to reach those young consumers especially, we're taking bits and pieces of that podcast, which is distributed through video as well. Actually, when we started 2 years ago, we knew that Spotify just wasn't really a thing, Apple Podcasts included, in Vietnam. It was for music, but not necessarily for podcasts. We started with video to get lead gen for the consumers, and that eventually will lead to a short form video, and also creators too. We're investing quite a bit into that. Khoi, there's been a lot of noise about Meta moving into the Metaverse. Yep. By the way, the look ahead report, we don't have any visuals today, guys, but we're going to actually send that link out to you, and you can find it online already. Yep. Why, in the context of Vietnam, why the big push here? Is that push already here? Maybe you can drop a few thoughts and comments about that effort in Vietnam specifically.
Okay, so I would love to also like to maybe take a step back, because the metaverse is a very big buzzword. Like people actually have I guess everybody here have a little bit different definition about what is metaverse. And I think that also is fair. It's always news. You can imagine, like let's say 20 years ago, people asking you like, you should have a website, you should have a mobile web, and then you're using ADSL at home, and it's kind of like so slow. And people like, what? And I kind of like thinking it's kind of like same thought around the line. So put it that way, I think metaverse, we just have to break it a little bit. So the metaverse is a lot of things, a lot of people are putting their head together to build that. But I think if we break it down a bit, we will see there's so many technology that related to metaverse that very already happening or become more important. Very specific in Vietnam, also on the same study that we did with banks, we surveyed Vietnamese consumer and telling them like, this is a list of metaverse related technology, and telling them like, have you tried it the last year? And I think 74% of them say yes. And the list of technologies can be like, augmented realities, virtual reality, NFT, crypto, or some of them already try virtual world. So I think that is signaling a lot of things around, like it's not that far. It's not that, something too much in the future. Something already here, but in terms of how you shape it, it has to be seen, because there's a lot of things, I think everybody knows that we need to have a few more things that are quite critical. First thing is connectivities, that we need a much better internet experience, like speed, to really embrace the metaverse. And also like the entry point, like the headset, one of the, we need that. Like in the past, when you really need a really good, smartphone to experience everything, it's just same thing. And that's what I'm seeing, like, that's why as a company, so talking about Meta, we are building a lot of things around all of the head, not just about the software, but also the hardware, to make sure that people can experience that, can be inspired to do more things. So that is something. So that is on the metaverse. And if you're asking me, what is going to be relevant for us, I can think like, it can be very relevant if you anchor yourself in terms of, if you're using all of the metaverse technology to build something meaningful, and then it's going to be super relevant. I give you one example. You can see a lot of people using AR filters nowadays, but you can think of, there was a time when we do SEA Games, just maybe this year, not last year, when we want to show the support for all of the team, Vietnam team, even like all of the team in the Southeast Asia, we create an AR filter to tell everyone that you can show like, the country that you support, the sport that you like, and you can share the love with everyone and using that. So it's not that far, but it's actually something meaningful and people love to use that. So we're increasing, seeing a lot of people using it everywhere on the platform. And I think that is the beauty of thinking about metaverse is a little bit more, near term than just worry too much into the future. That's what I would put.
Khoi, we're near the end of our fireside chat here. You mentioned, and by the way, guys, the podcast is on Vietnam Innovators. I interviewed Drew Vora, the Meta's managing director, and also Praneeth from Bain about the sync report that Meta created with Bain about the future of Southeast Asia. What are those key takeaways from that report that you can quickly highlight and share over to the staff?
Maybe you just flipped one slide, you will see it here, the 5 things I mentioned earlier. So I think one of the things that if I would make some recommendation here is like, first thing first is like, if you look at the first 2 trends here, you will see that's just a huge opportunities for businesses, not just the big, everyone, the big, the small, medium, everyone can be a part of that. And I think the play field right now is very fair. So you can be putting up a really good product that you are doing in front of the consumer right now because they are discovery-led. You have business messaging tool for you to really connect with them, know them on the personal level, one-on-one, and you can continue that journey, you know, growing your lifetime value with them. So that is something like every business, big or small, that is the time for you to even make the best of it. And in terms of the next 2 things about like video, reels, or creator, I think depends on where like your business stay and how big, how small you are. You can think about using creators in certain role in your business. They can be someone who can promote your product, or someone who can give you a lot of feedback of how your product doing and engage with your consumer in a very authentic way. And probably on the last piece of it is the Metaverse I said earlier. As long as you create meaningful experience, the technology is there. And I think a lot of big business telling me about like, what we're gonna do about it. And I say like, you know, first thing first, just try it because they already have something in that. And because you already need to learn something for your organization, because one day you will realize that if we just don't know it, it's gonna be even costly than try it now. And because you try it, you can also help your team, your partner, the whole ecosystem around you to be ready for that. And sometimes I telling my team, it's like the cost of doing nothing is much greater than we try something and fail.
Fair enough. That's a key message, I think, for anyone across all the topics we're going to be covering today, which we'll hear in a little bit. Final question for you, Khoi. Same question that I asked Bruce earlier. You know, you see a lot, especially these different topics, and you work with a lot of different clients across different industries. Who would you like to talk to? What industry would you like to hear from so you can learn something about Vietnam?
Maybe I just flip it a little bit. To be very honest, I think I've been a part of the Innovators series for a while. And one of the things I hope that at some point you can feature a Vietnamese, not really, maybe not that big, but maybe middle or like small, but they really embrace things that change, you know, maybe they leverage all of the things that in the past they don't have, and now they have in front of them. They just keep pushing that. Like for example, I really love things around agriculture. I do see some really good, bright talent going back to the countryside and building their business and 100% building on digital. Apart from all of the, you know, of course you have to roll something from the street and everything, but everything from marketing, from sales, from talking to consumer, getting feedback, R&D, everything on digital. And I think they spend significantly, not only in Vietnam, they do cross-border as well. And I think that's going to be super inspiring, not only for the business on the same side, but also for the bigger business to think about how they can be more agile and can be, you know, embrace the change ahead of them. So I think that is something I would recommend. It's something that I would love to hear more of.
Yeah, so just in summary, a small, medium business owner perhaps, even a big one that's operating outside of the city, you don't have to be here, but selling to urban consumers or even abroad. Yeah. Okay. That is a trend you're seeing, but you want to hear those out.
Yeah, I would love to hear more from that.
Okay, very good. Well, I do too. Thank you for that insight. Thank you, Khoi, for coming. Khoi, by the way, he's come all the way from Singapore just for this, so I appreciate your time, Khoi. And You can't ask him for ad credits, but if you ask him for any of these, he can give you some tips. So thank you, Khoi. Yeah.